I'm Rebecca, 34. Last Sunday during my birthday lunch, my father, a police officer with 28 years of service in Lakewood, humiliated me in front of our entire family. If I had known you'd turn out like this, I would have left you at the hospital. Those words echoed around the table while everyone laughed. He didn't know I'd started a live stream for my 3 million followers just minutes before. I hadn't planned to record it. I'd started the stream to show a birthday gift from a follower, but when I placed my phone on the tripod stand I always use during family meals to capture memories, nobody questioned it. Nobody. The phone was positioned so I could see the screen and comments from where I sat. I didn't scream. I didn't break down. I just looked at him and calmly said, "This is the man who raised me." The stream started gaining viewers immediately. My father isn't just any police officer. Sergeant Richard Williams is the department's spokesperson, frequently appearing in local media talking about integrity and family values. The day after my live stream, he was called to the police chief's office and immediately suspended from duty pending an administrative investigation, a surprisingly swift first step in what would become a long process. By the next morning, the automatically saved video had been viewed over 50,000 times and started being shared across multiple platforms. Local news stations were calling for comments, all because of a single unguarded moment that revealed the truth behind my father's carefully constructed public image. I later learned that Commander Sarah Johnson, the highest-ranking woman in our police department, had been monitoring my father's conduct for months. When my video surfaced, she acted quickly, using it as grounds for the immediate suspension she'd been strategically waiting to implement. I sat in my apartment that morning watching notifications flood my phone, text messages from friends asking if I was okay, direct messages from followers offering support, missed calls from my mother and brother, 17 in total, and one voicemail from my father that I couldn't bring myself to listen to yet. My hands trembled as I scrolled through the comments on the video. "He should be fired. No wonder police have image problems. Stay strong, Rebecca." Thousands of voices suddenly invested in my family drama. I felt simultaneously powerful and terrified. For the first time in my life, I had exposed the truth, but I had no idea what would happen next. The police department's press release was brief and non-committal. Sergeant Williams has been placed on administrative leave pending an internal review. The Lakewood Police Department takes all matters concerning officer conduct seriously. Reading between the lines, I knew they were in damage control mode. My father's career hung in the balance because of my impulsive decision not to end that live stream when it happened. Part of me felt guilty. The other part felt vindicated after years of emotional abuse disguised as tough love, years of being told I wasn't good enough, years of watching my brother receive praise for the smallest achievements while my accomplishments were dismissed as irrelevant. To understand how we got here, I need to take you back. Where are you watching from today? Drop your location in the comments below and hit that like and subscribe button if you've ever felt silenced by someone who should have been your biggest supporter. You'll definitely want to stick around for what happened next. Growing up as the daughter of a decorated police officer should have given me security, but the reality was very different. From an early age, I learned that public image was everything to our family. My father, known as Officer Integrity in Lakewood, Colorado, was the unofficial spokesperson for the department, frequently appearing on local television discussing community safety. At home, though, he was a different man. My younger brother, Jason, was always the family star. His sports trophies decorated our living room, while my academic achievements rarely received more than a nod. The contrast was striking and visible to anyone paying attention. Our neighbors occasionally witnessed my father's shouts directed at me, but never at Jason. At 12, I won a state science competition with a forensics project, trying to impress my father, of course. He didn't attend the award ceremony because Jason had a baseball game the same day. "You understand, don't you, Becca? Your brother needs support to excel," my mother explained as I stood alone on stage with my trophy. Throughout my teen years, the disparaging comments were constant. "Girls don't need to be so smart, they just need to be pretty. Why can't you be more like other girls your age? Your cousins are so much more sociable than you." The message was clear. I was the disappointment in the Williams family. My father's colleagues saw him as a pillar of the community. Officer Richard Williams, who coached Little League on weekends and organized the annual police charity drive. The man who spoke at schools about respect and integrity. None of them knew how he berated me for getting an A instead of an A, or how he accidentally forgot my high school graduation, but took a week off work to attend Jason's baseball tournament. "Your father has a stressful job," my mother would explain after particularly harsh episodes. "He deals with the worst of society every day. We need to be understanding." Understanding became my specialty. Understanding why my achievements didn't matter. Understanding why Jason's C+ deserved celebration while my scholarship was expected. Understanding why my father's love was conditional. I learned to make myself smaller, to speak less at dinner, to need less attention, to expect less recognition. I became the family ghost, present but barely acknowledged unless I was needed for something. Family photos from those years tell the story. Jason front and center with my parents. Me on the periphery, half smiling, always slightly out of focus. By 16, I had accepted my role. When college application season arrived, my father made it clear he wouldn't contribute financially to my education. Jason will need sports equipment and training camps if he's going to get scouted, he explained while signing the check for my brother's $2,700 batting cage sessions. Meanwhile, I worked after school at a local coffee shop, saving every penny for application fees. The pattern continued through college. I'd call home with news about making the dean's list, only to hear about Jason's latest girlfriend or sports achievement. My graduation day, where I received highest honors in communication with a specialization in social psychology, featured my father checking his watch repeatedly and leaving immediately after the ceremony for Jason's game. I have exactly 0 photos with my father from that day. "You're always so serious, Rebecca," he'd say when intrigued to discuss anything meaningful. "No wonder you don't have many friends." The irony was that I had plenty of friends, people who valued the qualities my family dismissed. My professors recognized my analytical skills and emotional intelligence. My classmates sought my advice on their projects and personal problems. It was only at home that I felt invisible. Yet I kept trying. Every achievement, every milestone became another opportunity to finally earn his approval. Each disappointment added another layer to the emotional armor I was building, protection I didn't yet realize I would need when I finally stopped seeking his validation and started valuing my own voice. Even after years of unequal treatment, I continued trying to win my family's approval. I'm Rebecca, 34, and I graduated in communication with a specialization in social psychology, something that helped me understand toxic family dynamics, though at the time I didn't apply this knowledge to my own situation. My career as a content creator began almost accidentally. During my senior year in college in 2014, I created a blog about self-esteem and healthy relationships as part of a capstone project. After graduating, I decided to continue the blog while working part-time as an assistant in a family therapy clinic, a job that exposed me to concepts about family trauma and abuse patterns that, ironically, I couldn't recognize in my own life. In 2016, I started producing educational videos about nonviolent communication and conflict resolution, leveraging my academic knowledge and the practical experience I was gaining at the clinic. After 3 years of steady growth, in 2019, my channel reached 1 million subscribers. Today, 5 years later, in 2024, I have 3 million. Despite professional success and financial independence, I never completely cut the emotional ties with my family. My therapist, Dr. Adi Chen, yes, even while helping others, I needed help, called this a traumatic bond, a dysfunctional attachment based on cycles of abuse and intermittent validation. Every small positive gesture from my parents was magnified in my mind, while the constant humiliations were minimized. Still, I never missed Sunday dinners. I contributed financially when my parents needed it, like the $15,000 I gave for their roof renovation last year, or the $8,000 for my mother's dental work that insurance wouldn't cover. I organized and paid for their 30th wedding anniversary party, an event for 150 people that cost nearly $22,000. I did all this hoping, at some point, to hear the words that never came. "We're proud of you, Rebecca." Meanwhile, my brother Jason, now a car salesman who could barely pay his own bills, remained the perfect child in their eyes. His recent divorce was treated as a family tragedy, while my broken engagement 3 years ago was seen as something predictable. The emotional toll was significant but invisible. I maintained a successful professional persona, the confident content creator who helped others navigate difficult relationships, while privately continuing to seek validation from people who seemed constitutionally incapable of giving it. My best friend Danielle, a clinical psychologist I'd met during my internship at the therapy clinic, constantly challenged me about this contradiction. "You're teaching thousands of people to establish healthy boundaries while allowing your family to violate yours every week," she'd point out during our coffee dates. "They're my family," I'd respond, as if that explained everything. "Which means they should be the first to treat you with respect, not the last," she'd counter. Each Sunday dinner followed the same pattern. I'd arrive early to help my mother prepare the meal. My father would barely acknowledge my presence until he needed something. Jason would arrive last, receive enthusiastic greetings, and immediately become the center of attention. I'd sit quietly, offering thoughtful comments that were often interrupted or ignored. After dinner, I'd help clean up while Jason and my father watched sports in the living room. Sometimes I'd overhear snippets of their conversation, genuine laughter, inside jokes, plans for fishing trips I was never invited on. My mother would occasionally pat my hand sympathetically but never intervened. On the drive home, I'd often pull over to cry before continuing to my apartment. The next day, I'd film an upbeat video about setting healthy boundaries or recognizing your own worth, advice I couldn't seem to follow myself. Danielle would review these videos and message me afterward. Great advice. When are you going to take it? My followers saw me as confident and self-assured. You've changed my life, they'd comment. How did you become so strong? If only they knew how I trembled before each family gathering, how I rehearsed casual responses to potential jabs, how I prepared myself for the inevitable disappointment. The cognitive dissonance became harder to manage. During the week, I was Rebecca Williams, influential content creator whose insights helped thousands of people improve their relationships. On Sundays, I reverted to Becca, the perpetual disappointment, desperately seeking approval from people who seemed to enjoy withholding it. Something had to give. I couldn't continue living this divided life indefinitely. The pressure was building, a psychological time bomb waiting for the right trigger. Is anyone watching from Colorado? Share your story of growing up in the shadow of a favorite sibling. Everything changed last Sunday, my 34th birthday. For years, each birthday followed the same pattern. I'd cook for the entire family, no one would mention it was my special day, and some deprecating comment would eventually emerge. This year was no different. I woke up determined to do something for myself for the first time. I planned to show my followers the beautiful necklace I'd bought as a birthday gift to myself, a piece of jewelry symbolizing my independence. I set up my phone on the table stand I always use during family meals, originally to capture happy memories that never existed, and started the live stream to show off the necklace. I positioned the phone where I could see both the screen and my family at the table. This setup let me glance at comments coming in without being too obvious about it. It was something I'd perfected over years of multitasking during these forced family gatherings. When everyone arrived, no one noticed the ongoing broadcast, all too busy with Jason's stories about his new job. I served the meal I'd prepared and finally found the courage to share my news. I have something to tell you, I said timidly. My channel hit 3 million subscribers, and a major cosmetics brand asked me to be their ambassador, a 6-figure contract. My father, who was cutting his steak, stopped and looked at me with contempt. Ambassador? For makeup? Is that what you do with your time? Talk to a computer about lipstick while real people work hard every day? My mother laughed nervously while Jason smiled with satisfaction. I tried to explain the reach of my work, how I'd built a community that valued authenticity, and how my platform had helped many young women find their voice. That's when my father said the words I'll never forget. Honestly, Rebecca, if I had known you'd turn out to be a person who lives off exhibitionism and online nonsense, I would have left you at that hospital when you were born. The silence lasted only 2 seconds before everyone at the table burst into laughter. Everyone except me, and no one remembered it was my birthday. I felt something shift inside me. A strange calm replaced the familiar sting of rejection. I looked around the table, at my father's smug expression, my mother's nervous smile, Jason's barely concealed satisfaction, and suddenly saw them clearly, perhaps for the first time. These people weren't my supporters. They weren't even neutral observers of my life. They were actively invested in my diminishment. My success threatened the family hierarchy that placed my father at the top, Jason as the golden child, and me firmly at the bottom. The phone on its stand continued recording. A quick glance showed me the live stream counter had jumped to over 2,000 people watching in real time. I could see comments rapidly appearing, though I couldn't read them from where I sat. I wondered briefly what these strangers thought of my family's behavior, of my father's casual cruelty, of the laughter that followed his devastating statement. "What's so funny?" I asked quietly. The laughter tapered off. My father looked annoyed at the question. "Lighten up, Rebecca, it was just a joke," he said, cutting another piece of steak. "Explaining how you wish I'd never been born is a joke? See? This is exactly your problem," he said, pointing his fork at me. "You're too sensitive. Can't take a little teasing." "Richard," my mother interjected, sensing tension, "tell Rebecca about that commendation you received last week." The classic deflection. Any conflict, any hurt feelings, any legitimate grievance was always sidestepped in favor of redirecting attention to my father's or Jason's accomplishments. Not this time. "No, Mom. I want to understand the joke. Dad just said he wishes he'd abandoned me at birth and everyone laughed. What's the punchline exactly?" Uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Jason cleared his throat. "Come on, sis. Don't make a big deal out of nothing." "Nothing?" I repeated, the word hanging in the air between us. My father sighed dramatically. "This is why we can't have a nice family dinner. You always have to make everything about you and your feelings." The irony of this statement, coming immediately after he'd made my birthday dinner about his disappointment in me, wasn't lost on me. I pushed my chair back from the table. I need some air. No one tried to stop me as I walked to the porch. No one asked if I was okay. The conversation resumed behind me as if nothing significant had happened. The cosmetics contract was significant, life-changing even. It represented not just financial security but professional validation. After years of building my platform, a major brand recognized my influence and authenticity. But at my family table, this achievement was dismissed as trivial, even shameful. When the laughter subsided, I felt something break inside me. It wasn't the first time I'd heard deprecating comments, but there was something different this time. It was my birthday. I'd reached an important professional milestone, and yet I was being humiliated at the table I had prepared myself. I left the table without a word and went to the porch. I immediately pulled my phone from the tripod and checked the screen. The view count had jumped to 4,200, far more than my typical broadcasts. I quickly scanned the comments scrolling by. "This is abuse. What a horrible father. You don't deserve this, Rebecca." The virtual support was immediate and overwhelming. Outside, I found Sophia, Jason's girlfriend, who had stepped out to take a call. She had heard everything. Sophia and I always had a cordial, if distant, relationship. She was a clinical psychologist specializing in family trauma at the Lakewood Mental Health Foundation, an irony that didn't escape me, and had subtly tried several times to make me see the toxic dynamics of my family. "Rebecca, that was horrible. No one should speak to their daughter like that," she said, placing her hand on my shoulder. "You deserve better than this. And happy birthday, I brought something for you." She handed me a small package she'd hidden in her purse, a book about setting boundaries in family relationships. I showed her my phone, with the live stream still going. Her eyes widened. "You're recording this? This could have serious consequences, Rebecca." "I didn't plan to capture that. I was just showing off my birthday necklace, and then it happened." "I understand," she said thoughtfully. "From my work with clients in similar situations, I know Colorado has what's called one-party consent for recordings, but since your father is a public figure, there could be additional considerations. You might want to consult with a lawyer if this escalates." I appreciated that she was careful not to overstep her professional boundaries while still offering personal support. Sophia squeezed my hand. "What are you going to do now? You know your father could have trouble at work because of this, right? He's a public figure." That's when I remembered the numerous times my father had mentioned issues at the department. Comments about colleagues he'd helped discipline for inappropriate behavior, about how he himself had implemented strict conduct policies for officers both on and off duty. The irony didn't escape me. "I'm going to do what I should have done long ago. Stop pretending this is normal." I looked down at my phone again. The live stream continued to gain viewers. The comments continued to pour in, a flood of support and outrage on my behalf. People were tagging local news outlets. Some recognized my father from his media appearances. The private humiliation I had endured for years was suddenly very, very public. My hands trembled slightly as I contemplated my options. I could end the stream, apologize to my family, and try to contain the damage. I could delete the video afterward and pretend it never happened. We could go back to our dysfunctional normal, where I silently accepted mistreatment in exchange for the illusion of family belonging. Or I could let it continue. Let people see the reality behind Sergeant Richard Williams' carefully constructed public persona. Let them witness how the man who lectured the community about respect and integrity treated his own daughter. The door opened behind me, and my mother stepped onto the porch. "Rebecca, your food is getting cold. Your father wants to move on from this nonsense." "My father wants to move on," I repeated slowly. "What about what he want?" My mother's expression hardened. "What you want is to make a scene and ruin a perfectly nice family dinner. As usual. A perfectly nice family dinner where Dad said he wishes he'd abandoned me at birth. That kind of nice?" She sighed with practiced martyrdom. "You know he didn't mean it that way. You're being dramatic." I looked at Sophia, who gave me a subtle nod of support. Then I looked at my phone, still live streaming to thousands of people who were, for the first time, bearing witness to my reality. "No, Mom. I'm not being dramatic. I'm finally being honest." I took a deep breath and made my decision. The live stream would continue. Later, I would contact Danielle to discuss the potential consequences of my decision. As a psychologist with experience in both clinical practice and media ethics, she could help me navigate the aftermath. But for now, I needed to finish this dinner with my dignity intact. I returned to the table and finished lunch in silence. As I ate dessert, I glanced occasionally at my phone, which I'd placed back on its stand. The livestream counter showed over 5,000 viewers. Internally, I struggled with the decision whether to end the broadcast or not. Part of me wanted to protect my family, but another part, the one that had been silenced for decades, wanted people to see the truth. I let the stream continue until we finished the meal. After everyone left, I finally ended the broadcast, but the platform automatically saved the video to my channel. I spent the night reviewing years of messages, emails, and conversations. I found records of every birthday party I'd organized for Jason, every expensive gift I'd given my parents, every time I'd abandoned important plans to answer a family call. I discovered I'd transferred over $47,000 to my family in the past 5 years, money they never mentioned when talking about real jobs. I also noticed my father had been mentioned several times in recent reports about problems in the police department. One article cited internal tensions and dissatisfaction with leadership, with my father identified as a central figure in the controversies, though always protected by the hierarchy due to his impeccable public image. I called my best friend Danielle, who worked as a psychologist. "Becca, this is emotional abuse. You know that, right?" Her voice was firm on the other end. "But he's my father, and that doesn't give him the right to treat you this way. The live stream, it raises ethical and legal questions. You're aware of that? It wasn't intentional, but I don't regret it either. For the first time, I'm not alone with this. I understand, but be prepared for the consequences, both for him and for you. Let me check with my colleague who specializes in media law to understand the implications better. In the meantime, save all documentation of your family's financial requests and your contributions. This could become relevant." By morning, the video had accumulated over 78,000 views. Not viral by internet standards, but significant enough to start making waves locally. I had dozens of missed calls, from my parents, from Jason, from numbers I didn't recognize. Local news outlets were trying to reach me for comment. The first email from a reporter arrived at 8:17 a.m. "Ms. Williams, I'm from the Lakewood Gazette. We'd like your statement regarding the video showing your father, Sergeant Williams. Please call me at your earliest convenience." My phone buzzed with a text from Sophia. "Are you okay? Jason told me your father's been called in to speak with his superiors this morning. This is escalating quickly. I hadn't expected things to move this fast. I'd assumed there would be time to process, to plan my next steps. Instead, events were unfolding with dizzying speed, each development triggering another in a cascade I couldn't control. At 9:45 a.m., I received an unexpected call from a number I didn't recognize. "Is this Rebecca Williams?" a woman's voice asked when I answered. "Yes, who's calling?" "Commander Sarah Johnson, Lakewood Police Department. I'm calling regarding the video involving your father that's circulating online." My heart raced. "I'm not sure I should be talking to you without legal representation. This isn't an official interview, Ms. Williams. I wanted to reach out personally before things progress further. The department is taking this situation very seriously. I didn't plan for any of this to happen," I said, my voice smaller than I intended. "Few of us plan for moments of truth," she replied, her tone surprisingly gentle. "But they find us anyway. What happens now? Your father has been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. Standard procedure. But I wanted you to know," she paused, choosing her words carefully, "that this video didn't occur in isolation. There's context that may become relevant in the coming days." What kind of context? "I can't discuss details of an ongoing internal matter, but know that you're not the only one who's experienced this side of Sergeant Williams. I've been monitoring several complaints about your father's conduct for months, particularly regarding his treatment of female officers. This video provided the visible evidence we needed to take formal action. The implications of her statement hung in the air between us. My father's behavior toward me wasn't an anomaly or a bad day. It was a pattern, one that apparently extended beyond our family dinner table. "Thank you for telling me," I managed to say. "Take care of yourself, Ms. Williams. This may get more difficult before it gets easier." After hanging up, I sat motionless, trying to process everything. My phone continued to buzz with notifications. The video was spreading beyond my follower base now, picking up momentum as local interest groups and police accountability pages shared it. The cosmetics company that had offered me the ambassador contract sent a reassuring email. "We stand by you during this difficult time. Your authenticity is exactly why we chose you to represent our brand." My private family dysfunction had become a public conversation about power, accountability, and the gap between public image and private behavior. 3 days after the incident, the saved video had reached over 200,000 views, still growing steadily, though not yet viral in the traditional sense. However, something more important happened. The video was seen by the right people. Marcus Rodriguez, an investigative reporter for the Lakewood Observer who had previously done stories on the police department, sent me a message. "Your father has been part of an internal investigation for months. Your recording might be the evidence that was missing. Can we talk?" Marcus had gained notoriety 2 years earlier for exposing corruption in municipal departments. Since then, he had been investigating allegations of misconduct in the police department. I agreed to meet him at a discreet cafe downtown. "We've received anonymous reports about your father over the last 8 months," explained Marcus, showing me printouts of testimonies with names redacted, mostly from female officers under his supervision, allegations of sexist comments, intimidation, favoritism. Commander Johnson has been carefully building a case, but since he's the spokesperson with an impeccable public image, these complaints never gained traction with the higher-ups. Until now. "How did you get access to these statements?" I asked, concerned about confidentiality. "The officers themselves came to me when internal channels failed them. They trusted me to protect their identities while trying to expose the pattern. I've been working closely with sources inside the department, anonymous whistleblowers who've been waiting for an opportunity to address the toxic culture your father helped create. Why are you telling me this? Because your video shows a pattern of behavior. It's not an isolated incident. It's who he really is when the official cameras are off." That same day, my phone wouldn't stop ringing with calls from my family. I finally answered one from my father. "What the hell did you do?" he shouted. "Do you have any idea what's happening? The department suspended me. The chief pulled me off duty this morning." "I didn't do anything except show who you really are," I replied, surprisingly calm. "You're going to retract all of this right now. Say it was a joke, that you edited the video, anything?" "No, Dad. I won't lie for you. Not anymore." "You're going to ruin my career over a dinner joke? Is that what our family means to you?" "Our family? The same one that laughed when you said you should have abandoned me at birth? The same one that completely forgot my birthday? That family?" I hung up and for the first time blocked my father's number. The emotional fallout was immediate and intense. Part of me felt guilty for potentially derailing my father's career. Another part felt vindicated after years of emotional abuse disguised as tough love. The cognitive dissonance was exhausting. Sophia had become a more regular presence in my life, calling to check on me and offering support, though always maintaining appropriate boundaries given her relationship with Jason. "What you're experiencing is completely normal," she assured me. "When we finally stand up to abusers, we often feel guilty for the consequences they face, even though those consequences are the result of their actions, not ours." Danielle came over that evening with takeout and practical advice. "I've spoken with an attorney friend," she said. "She specializes in cases like this. Your recording is protected under Colorado's one-party consent laws, and since you didn't edit or manipulate the content, you're on solid legal ground." By the afternoon, the police department had issued an official statement. The Lakewood Police Department is aware of a video circulating online involving Sergeant Richard Williams. He has been placed on administrative leave pending an investigation. The department takes all matters concerning officer conduct, both on and off duty, extremely seriously. Local news stations picked up the story. The headlines were variations of "Police spokesperson suspended after daughter's viral video." Some reporters attempted to contact me, but I declined all interviews. This wasn't about publicity. It was about finally standing up for myself. The cosmetics company remained supportive, sending a follow-up email. "We believe your story will resonate with many of our customers who have faced similar family challenges. When you're ready, we'd like to discuss incorporating themes of authenticity and resilience into our campaign." That evening, I received an unexpected visitor. Jason arrived at my apartment, anger radiating from him. "Do you have any idea what you've done?" he demanded as soon as I opened the door. "Dad's career is ruined. Mom can't stop crying. People are calling the dealership asking if I'm the son of that abusive cop. Did you even think about how this would affect all of us? Did any of you ever think about how your treatment affected me?" I countered. "Oh, please, Rebecca. Dad made one bad joke." "One bad joke? One? My entire life has been a series of bad jokes at my expense. The constant comparisons, the dismissal of my achievements, the emotional manipulation. That video captured 2 minutes of what I've experienced for 34 years. If you're watching and have ever had to set boundaries with toxic family members, share your experience in the comments." 3 days after the broadcast, the Lakewood Police Department officially announced that my father was under administrative investigation, not just for the video content, but for multiple professional conduct issues that have arisen in recent weeks. What started as a video with 200,000 views grew to nearly 500,000 when Marcus published his report in the Lakewood Observer, contextualizing the incident within a larger pattern of behavior. Other local and even some national outlets picked up the story, which was now not just about a cruel comment, but about abuse of power and hypocrisy. I began to understand how internal police department information had reached the press. Commander Sarah Johnson, the first woman to reach that rank in Lakewood and an advocate for cultural reform in the department, had been gathering evidence about problematic behavior for months. When the video appeared, she recognized the opportunity to finally address the issue. Through official channels, She authorized the controlled release of information about the ongoing investigation, keeping confidential the names of victims and sensitive details. This unusual action was justified by my father's position as spokesperson and public figure. Meanwhile, the video continued to circulate. A local forum identified Jason as the favored brother in the recording. It wasn't difficult for people to make this connection. Jason frequently used his last name and father's position as leverage in his sales, even appearing at community events alongside him. The dealership where he worked began receiving negative reviews. On the fourth day, I received an unexpected visit. My father was at my apartment door, not angry, but with red eyes and an expression I'd never seen before. Fear. "Can I come in?" he asked, his voice almost unrecognizable. I let him in, keeping my distance. "Rebecca, you need to help me. I'm in a disciplinary process. 28 years of career at risk. What do you want me to do? Say it was all a prank to generate views, that you edited the video. Your brother is devastated, your mother can't get out of bed from shame. Is this what you wanted? To destroy our family?" I looked at him for a long moment before responding. "No, Dad. I never wanted to destroy our family. I spent my entire life trying to be accepted by it. What you're seeing now are the consequences of your own actions, not mine. And you know I didn't edit anything. I always knew you'd end up hurting me," he huffed, returning to his usual tone. "Always wanting attention, always playing the victim. I think it's time for you to go," I said, opening the door. "If I lose my job over this, you will never be welcome in our home again. Understand? You will no longer be part of this family." "Dad," I replied calmly, "I never really was." The next day, my mother arrived unannounced. Unlike my father's intimidation approach, she tried emotional manipulation. "How could you do this to us, Rebecca? After everything we've done for you. What exactly have you done for me, Mom? When was the last time you stood up for me when Dad was belittling me? When did you ever acknowledge my achievements the way you celebrated Jason's? We gave you a roof over your head, food, education. That's the bare minimum of parenting. And let's not forget I paid my own way through college after Dad refused to help." She changed tactics. "Your father made a mistake. One comment doesn't define him." It wasn't one comment. It was the latest in a lifetime of comments. And judging by the department investigation, I'm not the only one who's experienced his mistakes. Her face hardened. "So you'll destroy your father's reputation, your brother's career, our family's standing in the community over hurt feelings? This isn't about hurt feelings. It's about years of emotional abuse that you enabled. And as for destroying anything, Dad did that himself when he decided to build a public image so completely disconnected from who he really is." After she left, I received a text from Sophia. "Just checked on you. Your mother's here with Jason, planning how to fix this mess. Thought you should know they're talking about potential legal action to have the video removed." Legal action. The threat might have intimidated me once, but I'd consulted with Danielle's attorney friend who confirmed that in Colorado, one-party consent laws protected my right to record conversations I participated in. The live streaming aspect created some gray areas, but since I hadn't edited or misrepresented anything, there was little legal ground for them to stand on. More importantly, I no longer feared my family's disapproval. The video had unexpectedly freed me from the desperate need for validation I'd carried my entire life. With each passing day, the fog of emotional manipulation lifted further, allowing me to see my situation with greater clarity. The cosmetics company stood firmly behind me. Their marketing director called to discuss how the campaign could be adapted to emphasize authenticity and emotional strength, themes that had become even more relevant in light of recent events. This professional validation helped offset the family rejection I was experiencing. 2 weeks after the incident, the situation had evolved. The police department formalized the disciplinary process against my father, scheduling a hearing for the following month. Meanwhile, new stories about his problematic behavior continued to emerge. Marcus had become a regular contact, keeping me informed about the case developments. His investigation had expanded beyond my father, revealing systemic issues in the department. "Your courage opened the doors for others to speak up," he said during one of our meetings. "Commander Johnson is using this opportunity to implement changes she's been advocating for years." Sophia and I had begun having coffee occasionally when she wasn't with Jason, our relationship gradually shifting from distant acquaintances to something approaching friendship. She was always careful to maintain appropriate boundaries, never sharing confidential information about Jason or breaching her professional ethics, but offering personal support when needed. "What you did is helping more people than you imagine," she told me during one of our meetings. Several women from the department have reported finally feeling heard. I learned more about Sophia's work at the Lakewood Mental Health Foundation, where she specialized in helping clients deal with family trauma. "I've seen so many cases like yours," she explained. People who spend years trying to earn the approval of family members who are constitutionally incapable of giving it. Danielle remained my rock throughout this period, offering both emotional support and practical advice. She helped me draft responses to media inquiries and manage the sudden attention my channel was receiving. My subscriber count had increased by 500,000 in just 2 weeks. That afternoon, my mother appeared at my apartment with a box of old photographs. "I came to show you something," she said, spreading photos on my table. "Look how happy we were. Look how your father always took care of you." The photos showed carefully selected moments. My father teaching me to ride a bike, holding my hand on the first day of school, applauding at some school presentation. "A photo doesn't tell the whole story, Mom, and you know that better than anyone. He can be harsh sometimes, but he's always been a good father. You can't throw away 34 years over one unfortunate comment. It wasn't just one comment, and you know it. It was the last straw." "And what about my birthdays? Did you remember it was my birthday that Sunday?" She looked away, confirming my suspicion. She changed tactics. "Think about Jason. He's being harassed at work because his father is the cop who wanted to abandon his daughter. People have canceled sales. The dealership is considering firing him. And that's my fault? Wasn't Jason laughing when Dad said that? Hasn't he always used Dad's name and position to benefit himself? We're all suffering, Rebecca. If you really care about this family, you'll fix this." I took a deep breath. "Mom, you're more concerned about public image than the fact that I was hurt. That says everything about our family dynamic." She gathered the photos quickly. "You've always been selfish, always thinking only about yourself. Your father was right." When she left, I realized that for the first time, I didn't feel that familiar ache in my chest. In its place was something new: certainty. I decided to take control of the narrative. For years, I'd built a platform focused on self-esteem and healthy relationships. Now it was time to live those values. I recorded a video addressing the situation directly, not to apologize or retract, but to contextualize. "Many of you witnessed a painful moment in my family life," I began, looking directly into the camera. "What you saw wasn't an isolated incident, but part of a pattern that's existed my entire life. I didn't intend to broadcast that specific moment, but I don't regret that it happened. Sometimes the truth needs witnesses." I explained the years of emotional abuse, the double standards, the financial exploitation. I detailed how I'd contributed to my family while receiving nothing but criticism in return. This isn't about revenge or attention. It's about finally acknowledging reality and setting boundaries. For those of you dealing with similar family dynamics, know that you're not alone. Your feelings are valid, your experiences are real, and you deserve respect, especially from the people who are supposed to love you. The response was overwhelming. Thousands of comments flooded in from people sharing their own stories of family dysfunction and emotional abuse. What had begun as a personal crisis had evolved into a movement of solidarity and shared healing. The cosmetics company reached out again, this time with a formal contract amendment. They wanted to increase the initial offer, expanding my role from brand ambassador to authenticity advocate, developing a campaign around emotional health and genuine self-expression, topics that had become even more relevant in light of recent events. That evening, Commander Johnson called again. "The department would like your formal testimony as part of the investigation, Ms. Williams. Would you be willing to provide it?" The old Rebecca would have declined, prioritizing family loyalty over truth. But I was no longer that person. "Yes, Commander, I'll testify." 1 month after the broadcast, the police department formally contacted me, requesting my testimony as part of the investigation. My first instinct was to refuse. This was personal, family business. But Sophia and Marcus helped me see there was a larger dimension. "People in positions of power have a special responsibility," Sophia said during one of our coffee meetings. "If your father treats his own daughter this way, how does he treat citizens who depend on him? How does he treat his female colleagues?" She was careful to speak from her general professional expertise and personal values, never crossing ethical lines regarding Jason or sharing confidential information. Marcus added another perspective. "Your testimony could be crucial to validate other victims' experiences. Often, people in positions of power are only confronted when multiple independent sources confirm a pattern." Danielle connected me with her attorney friend, who provided pro bono consultation. After understanding the full legal implications, I agreed to speak, with the condition that my testimony would be limited to behavior I had witnessed and not speculation. In the department's meeting room, Commander Johnson led a panel of 3 senior officers. "Ms. Williams, we understand family situations are complex," she said, "but the behavior exhibited by your father in the video, along with other reports we've received, raises serious concerns about his judgment and temperament." I responded honestly, without exaggeration or dramatization. I explained how the broadcast hadn't been planned to capture that specific moment, but also acknowledged that I had chosen to let it continue. Commander Johnson, I asked before leaving, may I ask why you're so committed to this investigation? She hesitated for a moment. Let's just say I recognize the behavior I saw in that video. For too long, people like your father have defined this department's culture. It's time for that to change. As I left the building, I encountered my father in the parking lot. You really went in there to speak against me, he said, blocking my path. I went in there to tell the truth. There's a difference. 28 years of impeccable service and you destroyed everything in 10 minutes. No, Dad. You built this over 34 years. I just let other people see it. And from what I'm learning, your service wasn't so impeccable after all. He stepped toward me, fists clenched. You think you're better than everyone with your millions of idiot followers. But without this family, without me, you're nothing. I held my ground. That's the difference between us. I know exactly who I am without you. The question is, do you know who you are without that badge? His face flushed with anger, but before he could respond, a voice called from behind us. Is everything okay here? Commander Johnson approached, her expression neutral, but her posture alert. My father straightened immediately, his public persona snapping back into place. Just a family discussion, Commander. I was just leaving, I said, meeting Johnson's eyes with silent gratitude. As I walked to my car, I felt a strange mixture of emotions. Sorrow for what my family could have been, relief at finally speaking my truth, and an unexpected sense of connection with others who had experienced similar treatment. The parking lot security cameras had recorded our interaction. By the next day, the footage had been added to my father's case file, another piece of evidence showing the disparity between his public face and private behavior. That evening, I received another unexpected call, this time from Jason's girlfriend, Sophia. I just wanted you to know. I ended things with Jason, she said, her voice steady but sad. After seeing how your family treated you and his role in it, I couldn't continue the relationship. It made me question everything. I'm sorry, I said, genuinely meaning it. I never wanted to cause collateral damage. You didn't cause anything, Rebecca. You just revealed what was already there. Speaking personally now, not as a therapist, I should have seen it sooner. The way they triangulated against you, the scapegoating, the golden child dynamic with Jason, it's textbook family dysfunction. How's Jason taking it? Not well, he's blaming you, of course. But I also think, somewhere deep down, this might be the wake-up call he needs. He's never had to face consequences before. Meanwhile, the cosmetics campaign had begun production. The creative team had reworked the concept to focus on inner strength and authenticity, using my real-life story as inspiration without directly referencing the family situation. The first promotional photos had been shot, and the company was planning a major launch for the following quarter. My professional life was thriving even as my family relationships crumbled. After we hung up, I sat alone in my apartment, thinking about ripple effects. One moment of truth had set in motion changes I could never have anticipated. In the police department, in my family, in relationships adjacent to mine. The truth, once spoken, couldn't be contained. 6 weeks after the broadcast, I received a call from Jason, something I hadn't expected. I just found out. His voice was strangely neutral. Dad got the notification today. He's being dismissed from the department at the end of the month. Administrative agreement, no possibility of appeal. I felt a mix of emotions, relief, sadness, a strange sense of closure. That's not what I wanted, Jason. I never wanted this to happen. Then why didn't you remove the video when we asked? Why did you have to take it this far? Because for the first time in my life, other people saw what happens in that house. The truth is, the video was just the catalyst. Internal investigations had been ongoing for months. There was a long pause. You knew about this? He finally asked. I found out afterward through Marcus Rodriguez, the investigative reporter who covered the case. Apparently, there were several complaints from subordinates, especially women. The guy from the Lakewood Observer? He's been on TV a lot lately. Yes, he's publishing a series about changes in the department. Commander Johnson is leading a complete overhaul of the internal culture. Another long pause. Sophia broke up with me, he confessed. Said she couldn't be with someone who allowed his sister to be treated that way. And that my attitude at work reminded her too much of Dad. I'm sorry about that. No, you're not, he sighed. But maybe you're right about some things. I lost my job at the dealership. I'm trying to start over, but it's hard. I know what it's like to start from scratch. I know you do, I just never had to do it before. It was the closest to validation I'd ever received from him. And Sophia, has she been talking to you? We've had coffee a few times. She's been kind enough to offer some perspective, though she's very careful about what she shares about you. She's a good person, Jason said with a tone of regret. Better than I deserved. The conversation marked a turning point. Not reconciliation exactly, but an acknowledgement that something fundamental had changed. Jason, for the first time, was experiencing life without the privileges his status as the golden child had always afforded him. A week later, my mother called. Unlike her previous attempts at manipulation, she sounded defeated. Your father starts his new job next Monday. Security consultant for a private firm. Less money, no public recognition, but it's something. That's good, Mom. I'm glad he found something. He didn't want me to tell you, but I thought you should know. Another shift. My mother making her own decision rather than simply following my father's dictates. Thank you for telling me. He's different now, she said quietly. Quieter. Less certain about everything. I don't know if that's good or bad. Change is hard, I offered. For everyone. Yes, she agreed, surprising me. It is. After we hung up, I reflected on how thoroughly one moment of truth had altered our family's trajectory. My father, stripped of his authority and public standing, was facing the consequences of his behavior perhaps for the first time in his life. My mother, without the reflected glory of being married to a respected police sergeant, was reevaluating her own role. Jason, no longer able to trade on the family name, was confronting his actual capabilities and character. And me? I was finally free of the desperate need for their approval. The fear that had kept me tethered to their dysfunction, fear of rejection, fear of losing my family, fear of being completely alone, had lost its power over me. The cosmetics campaign was now in full production. The company had embraced my story, creating marketing materials that spoke to authenticity and resilience. The six-figure contract had been upgraded to include speaking engagements and a limited product line with my input on the formulations. My professional validation no longer needed to come from my family. In its place was something I'd helped my followers find but had struggled to claim for myself: authentic self-worth, independent of external validation. The irony wasn't lost on me. The very public exposure I had feared most had ultimately led to my private liberation. That night, I filmed a new video for my channel. Not about my family situation specifically, but about the broader journey of recognizing your own value when those who should value you most have failed to do so. Sometimes the harshest truths lead to the most necessary changes, I told my audience. And sometimes the family you build through choice proves stronger than the one you were given by chance. A year has passed since that fateful Sunday lunch. My father found work in private security, lower salary, without the badge's prestige, but still employment. My mother eventually resumed speaking to me, though our conversations remained superficial and cautious. Jason and I are slowly building an adult relationship. After losing his job, he needed to reassess his priorities. He began working for a nonprofit that helps at-risk youth, something I never imagined he would do. He's still very much the same person in many ways, but he started to recognize some of the problematic behaviors he inherited from our father. Recently, he mentioned he's considering therapy, a small but significant step. Commander Johnson was promoted to deputy police chief and implemented significant changes in the department. Marcus won a journalism award for his series on cultural transformation in local police forces. Sophia continued her work at the Lakewood Mental Health Foundation, and we developed a friendship that evolved gradually and naturally over time, based on mutual respect and shared values, rather than just our connection through Jason. Danielle remains my closest confidant, the friend who saw me through the darkest moments and celebrated the victories. Her unwavering support showed me what genuine friendship looks like, something I value now more than the conditional acceptance I once desperately sought from my family. As for me, I transformed my experience into something meaningful. My channel now addresses dysfunctional family relationships and healthy boundary setting. Using my communication degree with a social psychology specialization and the practical experience I gained working in therapy clinics, I created content that resonates with millions. In partnership with the Lakewood Mental Health Foundation, where Sophia works, I launched a scholarship program offering free psychological support for people facing family emotional abuse. The cosmetics brand that hired me as an ambassador agreed to sponsor the program as part of their social responsibility initiative, providing significant resources for its expansion. I returned to university for a clinical psychology master's program, focusing on family trauma. I managed to organize my schedule to maintain my content creator career, recording videos in advance during less intense semester periods, and using my studies to enrich my content. My platform as a content creator led to invitations to speak at psychology and social media conferences, where I could share insights from both my personal experience and academic learning, even though I'm still early in my clinical training. The video changed my life in ways I couldn't have predicted. I received thousands of messages from people with similar stories, creating a community of mutual support. Last week, I received an unexpected message from my father. I'm seeing a therapist. It's not easy for a man of my generation to admit needing help, but I'm trying. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I'm trying to understand what I did wrong. It wasn't a complete apology, but it was a start. I replied with a single sentence. Recognition is the first step to change. I don't know if we'll ever have a healthy relationship, but I know I'll never again be that person who accepts crumbs of affection in exchange for constant sacrifices. I've learned that family isn't just blood. It's respect, validation, unconditional love. On my 35th birthday 2 weeks ago, I did something different. Instead of an obligatory family lunch, I organized a celebration with the people who supported me through this journey. Danielle, Sophia, Marcus, work friends, followers who became friends. And to my surprise, Jason showed up with a gift and a handwritten card. Thank you for showing the way. Sorry it took so long to see. The contrast with my previous birthday couldn't have been more striking. Instead of humiliation and dismissal, I was surrounded by genuine affection and appreciation. Instead of cooking for people who took me for granted, I was the honored guest at a celebration planned by people who valued me. My professional life has flourished as well. The cosmetics contract expanded into a full brand partnership. My channel's focus on authentic relationships and personal boundaries attracts a more engaged audience than ever. I've been invited to speak at conferences about both content creation and psychological well-being, bridging my two worlds in a way that feels authentic and meaningful. More importantly, I've found an inner peace I never thought possible. The constant anxiety, the perpetual need to prove my worth, the desperate hunger for validation, all diminished as I built a life based on mutual respect and genuine connection. To all of you who shared your stories with me throughout this year, thank you. You showed me I'm not alone, that my experiences are valid, that my feelings matter. If you're going through something similar, remember, you don't need permission to set boundaries. You don't need approval to walk away from toxic relationships, even family ones. Your worth isn't determined by how others treat you. Where are you watching from today? If this story resonated with you, make sure to like and subscribe. Remember that your story matters too, and you deserve to be heard.